you sorry. I don't want you sorry now. It's too late, you know. It's too late, you know. Wasted time. Say, do you wanna play for love? Wanna play for love? Say, do you wanna play for love? Wanna play for love? Your silence, your silence, your silence, silence, your silence, your silence. Wake me, say you wanna wake me, say you wanna wake my life. But I know you so wanna know you so wanna know your life. If it's just teasing, I will be a teaser, I will be a teaser now. It's too late, you know, it's too late, you know. Wasted time. Say, do you wanna play for love? Wanna play for love? Say, do you wanna play for love? Wanna play for love? Your silence, your silence, your silence, silence, your silence, your silence. Say you wanna know me, and try to let it out. Say you wanna know me, and try to let it out. Say you wanna know me, and try to let it out. Say you wanna know me, and try to let it out. Try to let it out. Try to let it out. Try to let it.
Hi. Wow, that was stressful. So my name is Lucia. I'm 25 years old. I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I have been doing this professionally for almost 8 years now, which feels like a lot. As you've probably heard a lot of singers say, I have been singing since nursery school. Yeah, I have, but the moment when I realized that music had become an essential part of my life was when I was about, say, 12 or 13 years old. And as you all know, being a young adult is quite difficult. You've all been there. Coping with the world around you becomes overwhelming. And I found my refuge in music. Back at my parents' place, my room used to have, still has, a small balcony. And after school, I just lock myself on the balcony and play my guitar or the piano or any instrument I could get my hands on and sing. That was the place I felt most sheltered and the place I felt safe. And one day, I decided to record a cover of a song that I really loved, which is the song that you've just heard. It's called Silence. And it was written by one of my favorite Romanian bands at the time. I put it up online and they said, well, let's make a music video for it. We did. We put it up online. And as of today, it's about 100,000 views short of 27 million views, which is quite a lot. Around like probably 10 million views is just me and my mum watching it. So thank you, Mum. I love you. She's the best. But I'm still baffled by how it's reached so many people. But with this amazing experience came some downsides as well, because I started feeling the pressure that everybody was putting on me. I started writing music and I started putting it out there. And people would listen to it and would say, well, that's nice, but it's not your first song. And I've had people label me as a one-hit wonder. I've had people tell me that, well, maybe it was just the circumstances. Maybe she was just lucky. There's a bit of talent there, but she's not that great. I'm lucky to be part of a generation that has managed to acquire actual skills from the internet. I've learned how to play the piano with the help of YouTube tutorials, which I was quite proud of until people started leaving comments saying, well, she's not playing the piano right, her hand position is not right. And I realized I'm not good enough for this. My 17-year-old brain only knew how to do one thing, and that was mirror what everybody else was saying. And I started believing all of those things. And no, I'm not a classically trained piano player. I'm not a classically trained vocal player. I don't really know how to sing, but I do it because it's the only thing I know how to do. And this whole pressure, the expectations that not only everybody, but me, I began putting all of this pressure on myself, and it did a lot of damage. But music has taught me something really important, and it took me quite a while to realize that, is that music can bring people together, and I don't have to do everything by myself. And this is why I've surrounded myself with amazing people who help me through this journey. I've got an amazing team behind me now, and my band is now made up by 5 incredible people, and one of them is here with me today. This is Paul. And he's going to be helping me play the next 2 songs. They say we're free to roam wherever. I've been high and low and everywhere in between. Weighing all the souls, paradise home. Feathers never felt so alive before. Tell me where it goes, tell me when it stops. Heaven's never been much of
tall as the bounce around my feet allow me to. I say I'm fearless, but I only stand so tall. Love's a sign to license me to fall. I say I'm fearless, but I only stand as tall as the bounce around my feet allow me to. I say I'm fearless, but I only stand so tall as the judge inside my love's a sign to license me to fall.
Thank you so much. It's a lot easier when he's here with me. It feels a bit less stressful. Um, so the song you've just heard is called Bounds, and it's one of my favorite songs off of my latest album, which is called Samsara. And I'll get back to that in a moment. But I just wanted to say that I love uncomfortable conversations. It's one of my favorite things. If you were to ask any of my friends, they'd probably say they've had the weirdest conversations of their lives with me. At least some of the weirdest. Ever since I was little, I was very curious. I'd ask questions about everything. And sometimes I get shut down because people say, we don't talk about this. You shouldn't say that. But I grew up and I realized that we can talk about this. And I am going to talk about this. Ever since I was a child, I was fascinated by death. I remember having this book on ancient Egypt and reading the chapter about death and embalming and what happens, the journey that the soul has to go through, the weighing of the soul. A lot of elements can be found in the song Bounds as well. And I was completely fascinated. And then I went to school and I had to take a class on religion. And us here being mainly Orthodox Christians, I learned about how you have to be good, otherwise you're going to go to hell. If you're nice, you're going to go to heaven. And if you do good things. And I just kept wondering, which one is the real version? What's actually, what happens? What is it? And I live my life relying on science. I love science. It's the best. I bet you'll do. And I am completely shocked by the fact that science can't offer us an answer yet. We don't know what happens. And this is why I embraced Samsara, which is a concept that can be found in Indian religions. I embraced it because I felt like I related to it. talks about how everything keeps going in circles, how there's this cycle of life and death. And what I feel is the biggest misrepresentation in the media. For example, I remember watching cartoons as a kid and seeing reincarnation as a theme in cartoons. And people would see reincarnation as you turn into this butterfly and everything's fine. When actually you've got this emotional luggage that you carry with you, you've got this burden that you have to just carry on your back. There's this deep sadness that accompanies you throughout this process, and this is how I feel. I feel like I've got this dark passenger on my back, and I have to carry him wherever I go. And this is why I related to this concept. But the album talks not only about death, as in the death of the human body, but it also talks about the death of a bunch of other things. I wrote this song that I like to call The Place Where Science Goes to Die, and it is a song about the Flat Earth Society. If there's any members of the Flat Earth Society here, I'm sorry, this is going to be awkward over drinks tonight. But it just talks about death and spirituality in general. And the other half of the album, if I may say that, is talks about me, obviously. I'm an artist, I'm going to talk about myself. Because as I said in the short description of my speech today, I feel like all artists have this one thing in common, and that is picking at wounds. You've got all of these wounds, and you open them up every single time you write music, every single time you perform. And it's quite a masochistic thing, if I might say. But it's necessary. I feel like for me, it's the only way to heal completely, because every single time you get the chance to go over things, you get the chance to face your fears and your problems and your anxieties. And this is why I love uncomfortable conversations. It's because by facing the things that make our stomachs turn and that make our chests feel hollow, by facing those things, you accept them and you learn how to deal with them. And it's not only having that conversation with other people, it's also having that conversation with yourself. And I feel that music is the perfect medium through which we can have that conversation with ourselves. And it makes it a bit more pleasant. Nobody wants to talk about death over dinner. I mean, I'd love to, but by putting it into words and putting it into a song, it just feels more natural. I've had a lot of people ask me about the process of writing music, and for me, it's just something that feels natural. I just sit down at the piano, or play my guitar, or just have an instrument help me. And then melodies start popping up, and then certain words start popping up. And in my brain, I trust my brain. It knows what it wants to say. It's a difficult process because at first it's just mumbling. If you've ever heard demos, it's the weirdest thing ever. It's an invented language. And then throughout the whole writing process, your brain figures out what you want to say. And I feel that, like, the next song, the last song I'm going to play today, is a song that just came to me in order to help me heal from the wounds caused by my anxiety. It's a bit easier talking about this in front of people I don't know than talking about this in front of my loved ones, for example. But I've suffered with severe anxiety my whole life, to a point where it has become crippling. I live inside myself and outside of myself so much. It's quite hard to explain, but it's not that hard to explain, actually. I suffer from something called DPDR for short, which is depersonalization, derealization disorder. I live my life as if it were a dream. Nothing feels real. I have episodes where I don't really know what's going on around me. But the only thing that keeps me grounded is music. And also therapy. I've started therapy. I'm really proud of myself. But I've had people ask me, well, does that mean that you're crazy or what? And this is the other half of Samsara that I wanted to talk about. It's the conversation about mental health. Because I feel like I've grown up in a society, I've lived in a country where the conversation about mental health is not supposed to be had. We're not supposed to talk about that. And I look at my parents and I look at my grandparents and I look at people who have grown up as part of a generation that was scarred by a lot of things, communism being one of them. And they had to go through life by, clenching their fists and biting their lips and not saying anything, not talking about the way they feel. And whenever I wanted to talk about the way I felt, I'd be told, we don't talk about that. You just keep it for yourself. Nobody wants to know how you feel. Nobody needs to know that. But I feel like people need to know how, not necessarily I feel, but what everybody feels. And music comes for me as the easiest way to get my message through. Because as I'm sitting here and talking about these things, I feel like, am I just, trying to be really deep? Am I trying to sound smarter than I am? I don't know. I'm just trying to get my message out. And by speaking, I feel like I'm doing not that good of a job. But when I sing, it all clicks into place. And I've always been a very sensitive person. Just the overload of stimuli coming from the outside is sometimes unbearable. I can't bear to live sometimes. It's difficult, man. It's awful. But I consider what I'm doing right now, me speaking and me singing in front of you, which is quite difficult for me. And every single gig that I do is hell. I mean, no, it's really fun. It's really nice. But when the moment I have to go up on stage is the worst moment of my life, then it all gets better and it's really pleasant. But this is the message that I wanted to, the things I wanted to share with you today, is that I feel that the way I'm living my life might not be really healthy, but it's not necessarily wrong. For all of my life, I have been told that being hyper emotional is wrong, that feeling everything at like 150% is wrong. But I'm going to say this, and I've said this a billion times, I'd rather feel everything than feel nothing at all. And that's all I had to say. I'm just going to go sing my last song. I can't wait to hear all of you, and I'm really excited for today and tomorrow as well. That was it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Make me see things differently. Am I so blind? So run from all the things that could count as responsibilities. Go to where a paper envelope delivers your results. They call me catastrophe. I say it's an atrophy of the muscle that you should be using to feel. They give you an antidote. Tie in a coat, a suitcase, and also a casket for when you get too old. Make me see things differently. Am I so blind? So run from all things that could count as responsibilities. Go to a paper envelope delivers your results. They call me catastrophe. I say it's an atrophy of the muscle that you should be using to feel. They give you an antidote, a tie and a coat, a suitcase, and also a casket for when you get too old. They call me catastrophe. Tie in a coat, a suitcase, and also a casket for when you get too old. I've lived in a fantasy, fell from the canopy, only one casualty. No, I'm not what I used to be. No, I'm not what I used to be. Lived in a fantasy, fell from the canopy, only one casualty. No, I'm not what I used to be. They call me catastrophe. I say it's an atrophy of the muscle that you should be using to feel. They give you an antidote, a tie and a coat, a suitcase, and also a casket for when you get too old. They call me catastrophe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was so proud of myself for not crying during my speech, but I still have like 20 seconds to get off stage, so I'm just gonna go do that. Thank you so much. I'm still tied to this. Paul Dragoshin.